Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Fire and Pod, a podcast where we at Silent Podcast cover all things House of the Dragon. My name is Katie. I am your host today, and I am here with my wonderful, lovely co-hosts, Javier and Chanelle. How are you guys today?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Good. It's so good to see you. I put this on Twitter, but we went through a little bit of a time jump on our own, and we did not discuss the show last week, so we have a lot to catch up on. We're back. We're in present day now, 10 years later from the last time we chatted. How are you guys feeling? We have a time jump. We have craziness with a lot of these characters. We have new actors. Like, how are you guys feeling about where we are? We've had a lot of new story elements to talk through.
I'm liking it. Actually, I think they did the time jump pretty well because, like, a lot has happened, but I feel like a lot has happened, but it's like I didn't really need any explanations of what went down for the most part. You know what I mean? I don't know if Javier thinks any differently, but like the jump, you know, where we see people are at, it's not like I needed any in between. I can tell, you know, the resentment. I can tell, you know, who's married to what children are here now, all that kind of stuff. The just like insinuations and all that kind of stuff. Like I could feel it without knowing what happened in between. You know what I mean? So I think they did it pretty good. I know there's a lot more details in between, but I think it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind the time jump that much. I have issues more so with a lot of the characters. My thoughts on all the children and their storylines is so we'll get into all of that, but I have mixed feelings basically about the past two episodes. Very mixed.
Yeah, I've heard this criticism or this opinion, I guess, in a few places, but I think what I personally would have preferred, like, I don't have an issue with the time jump. I think it's fine, but what I would have preferred maybe is if we did all of season 1 with the original actors and spent more time kind of fleshing out some of their stories. Even if we had like another episode or two after the wedding, if that's where we left off, that's the last time we spoke, is Viserys passed out at the wedding and Laenor and Rhaenyra are married. But then we jump ahead 10 years. She seemingly now has this relationship with Harwin where we really never saw them interact almost ever. So like, would love to hear about that. When did that start? How did they get to know each other? Just like flesh out some of those story parts a little bit more. I think I would have preferred it a little bit. But I'm not really mad at it. It did take me a little bit to kind of get used to the new Rhaenyra, new Allison. I think the new actress for Allison is crushing it. She's making me feel all the things I think I'm supposed to feel about Allison, and she's doing it really well. So I'm used to it now. I think I'm good with it. But I also think it's like a little weird. Like, I guess only the children or people who were supposed to be children, like Allison and Rhaenyra, got new actors, but like Christian Cole is the same actor. Like it's a little like, I'm like, oh, I guess the age difference was that big where Christian Cole was like really an adult versus like Rhaenyra and Allison who were kids at the time. Like, I guess that's what I'm supposed to take from this.
Yeah, I assume so. Like, yeah, when I saw there was the same person, I was like, okay, like maybe he was in his 20s and now he's in his 30s or whatever, right? So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you, Katie. That's kind of why I have mixed feelings because, you know, like there's some storylines that were clearly added just for like a means to an end, like the Sir Harwin, his whole character. And there's a few instances of that when these time jump that it's like, I agree. If we would have fleshed out these characters a bit more, seen a bit more of their relationships develop, I feel like I would have felt more attached to certain things that happened in the past two episodes. And then when they happen, I was like, okay, like this character was not meant to mean anything really to the story except as a vehicle to forward a separate storyline, since I'm trying to not like say exactly what I'm thinking, but you know, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think there's also I think that the relationship with Larys and Allison, I would have liked to see play out a little bit more too. It just felt like maybe we were rushing to do this time jump like in the same season just to see like if they could pull it off. But it just feels like maybe if they spent a little bit more time massaging, it might have come off a little bit better. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of agree with you, Katie, where you're like, how come season 1 couldn't have just been like more time with the younger characters? Like maybe the plan is like in a few seasons, they'll kind of bring them back to do kind of flashbacks or whatever else. I'm not sure what their plan is. I'm not sure. I think they said there's going to be like 5 seasons or something, right?
Oh,
I might
damn,
be
that's a long
wrong.
time for us to stay unspoiled, Javier.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it.
Again, I keep coming up with numbers, so that might be totally incorrect. Like the pace they're going at, though, it seems like it might be less. So, like, you know what I mean? But we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
well,
see.
so spoiler for what we're about to do today is we're changing our format just a little bit for this week because we just have so much to catch up on. And we're going to do a tier list and we're just going to dive deep into each of the characters. If you noticed that I was distracted a second ago, I do notice that Laenor is not on this tier list. So let me see if I could just like grab a picture
need
of
Laenor.
him really
The
quick because we
horror.
definitely
Yeah,
need
we need to
Laenor.
rate Laenor.
I just don't know
Many
if I can
thoughts on
upload
Laenor.
a picture. Well, okay, we could start with Laenor. Oh no, he's here. Don't worry. Okay, my bad. I missed him. But I did see on some of the tier list templates that I was looking at, are we getting more actors and actresses for these characters? Because I saw people that I have not seen before. I saw older kids, some guy with an eye patch, and I'm like, oh, we're getting more actors that we're going to have to keep up with. This was news to me. Spoiled by tier list.
Yes.
Tier maker, whatever this was.
Well, I already saw the a little bit of. I always look at the preview
Yeah.
for the week ahead, so I kind of already knew that the kids are gonna.
We're gonna get
Oh,
another
so this is already
time-
happening next week.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, we're
happening
getting
next
another
week.
time
Oh my
jump
God.
next week. This
Yeah.
is insane
See,
to
now
me.
this is where I feel like we're just really rushing.
Mhm.
All right, let's jump into the because I know I have a lot of thoughts, and that just made me think even more. So I'll share my screen. If you guys aren't watching on YouTube, feel free to check out the video. Otherwise, we'll talk you through kind of like what our thoughts are and where we're gonna rank. But this is a little bit more visual than the past, which is fine. Okay, let's go here. Okay. So this is in no particular order. Also, another spoiler alert for those listening or watching. I don't know that any of us are 100% sure what these kids' names are. It's been a lot happening over the last 2 weeks, so we'll do our best to talk about them. But I'm going to start with Rhaenyra. Let's talk about Rhaenyra's storyline. We see her last week. We opened up. She's giving birth. More birth on this show, and we can't get away from horrific birth scenes for some reason, to seemingly her third child, and very clear that they are not Laenor's children. And we come to essentially find out that these children are bastards. There are 3 of them, and Harwin Strong is their father, which, like we said a little while ago, like we really didn't see a ton of interaction with Harwin Strong and Rhaenyra. We saw them slightly interact with each other during the wedding. He kind of picked her up after Lionel Strong, his father, who was the Hand of the King, kind of like gesture to him to like grab her and get her out of harm's way. Seemingly, they've built a pretty big relationship since then. What do you guys feel about Rhaenyra and where she is right now?
So in this instance, I'm really entertained by the things that are happening with her because it's just like drama, and I'm here for the drama.
Yeah.
Position wise, she's just messing herself up, honestly, because she's making it like so obvious. She's really adding fuel to the fire of Allison, who's just already pissed off with her.
Yeah.
Right. But then she's also adding fuel to the fire of like why Allison should be pissed off at her and making her look like a bad ruler, really. So like I give her like a B here just because like she could have done better with this. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's messy. Like you're really having 3 bastard children.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Rhaenyra, as someone who was like, I was really rooting for her, and I guess I kind of still am, but she just has a lot of instances of like, she's making a lot of poor decisions, and now she's an adult, so I was hoping her decisions would become better. The fact that she married Sir Harwin, had these kids who were obviously not going to look like Laenor's kids, like, is she even trying to hide it? And like Chanelle says, it's also questioning like her legitimacy as future queen. Like she's adding more fuel to the fire that she shouldn't be queen because she's making these poor decisions. She's making these really rash decisions. So I think that, yeah, overall, like Rhaenyra has had not the best few episodes for me. And yeah, I don't know. I maybe B as well, maybe C for me. Like Rhaenyra's just not doing it for me anymore, sadly. And I'm hoping things change for the better as the season comes on. But yeah, my Rhaenyra stand card is maybe decline now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Like we've seen a lot. She's an adult now. I assume she's probably 28. I think when we left her, she was around 18, getting married. We were 10 years ahead, so she's around 28 now. She has 3 kids, as we talked about, all 3 seemingly fathered by Harwin Strong. Harwin Strong, which who we'll get into, is basically killed by his brother. So he's no longer in the picture. But these kids know that that Laenor is not their dad. Like there are whispers all over the place. These kids are not legitimate, quote unquote, in the eyes of the council, the realm. Like these are bastard children, which is a really dangerous thing for that time. The resentment, like you guys said with Allison, has just seemingly grown and grown and grown. What I liked seeing from Rhaenyra in these past few episodes is that it does seem like she's tried to be diplomatic, right? Like we saw her in last week's episode try and smooth things over with Alicent, and it seems like King Viserys, who's somehow still alive with us as of the end of the episode this week, which is a shock, really, seemed to be happy with this deal that she tried to make of marrying her son to Viserys and Allison's daughter. So they would then eventually also be in line for the throne, potentially at some point. I don't know if it was her oldest son or it was her middle son. But also offered dragon eggs to Aemond, who at that time didn't have a dragon. So it seemed like she was trying to reach across the aisle a little bit, and Alicent was just not having it. She, instead of responded to her about like herself lactating through her dress, which is just a way to really like undermine her and just seemingly point out like, hey guys, remember this is a woman and she shouldn't be ruling. She's lactating through her dress at a small council meeting. And this week we saw Corlys's brother at Laena's funeral, which is where we opened the episode this week, also kind of seemingly like give a dig in High Valerian about the kids not really being of the right blood to rule Driftmark. We saw Allison basically slice her with a knife. Like, it's just like things are getting really out of control. She's now married to Damon. Like, a lot of things have happened with Rhaenyra over the last few weeks. She lost a trusted ally in the Strongs. It does feel like at the end of the episode, maybe she's gaining a little steam because she did solidify this relationship with Damon. They're married now, but the problem is like Laenor's gone. He was an ally, and with that, like, what happens to Corlys and Rhaenys? Are they going to be on her side? Are they going to be on the king side, who's likely again not going to be with us for very long? Are they going to go with the Greens? Like, what do you guys think is going to happen here, and what do you think the trajectory is going to be for Rhaenyra?
Yeah. So I don't know this far ahead in the story, so this is actually just my legitimate guess.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to go with the Greens only because at this point, like, they have like nothing to, well, at the end of the episode, like both their children are gone. Yeah. Their grandchildren aren't actually their grandchildren except Laena's grandchildren, right? But like they have no claim to anything but Driftmark, I guess, at the end of the day. Actually, I don't know who they're going to go with. It might be the Blacks just because I feel like it showed that the cousins have a bond, right? Like Jace, I think it was Jace went over to his 2 cousins and like held their hand. I feel like they have a tight bond. And then with the fight and everything too, I feel like, they all fought together, know? So, what, they might go with them just because the two granddaughters are very like close with Rhaenyra's children. So they might choose that side. I'm not too sure. I don't know. Maybe they will go with the Blacks. I was going to say Greens just because they've been burned so many times by the family, the Targaryen family, that they're just like kind of fed up. And we don't ever hear anything about this family ever again later on in the Game of Thrones series. So I thought maybe, okay, if they go with because we know the Blacks win at the end of the day because of who rules the Iron Throne right until Robert's rebellion. Mm-hmm, so I assume like maybe they just got wiped out in this fight, but it could also just be because the only people they had in the line were these 2 girls, legitimate are these 2 girls, right? So, who knows?
Yeah, it almost does feel like this is like the end of their bloodline, right? The only legitimate children that are born to the Valerians are Damon's kids with Laena, which obviously we'll talk about what happens there. But Rhaenyra's kids are Valerian in name, and they did kind of make a point to say, like, I want these kids to have my name until they descend the throne or ascend the throne. But we did hear, Rhaenys and Corlys have a conversation in this past week's episode talking about, we know that these are not actually our son's children. Like, we can speak about this. We're alone. But Corlys was kind of like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, their name is what matters. That's what's remembered in history is like their name. It doesn't matter like whose kids they are, what they look like. This is who they're going to be remembered as. So it's interesting. It does kind of seem like he's defending them a little bit or sticking up with them a little bit. And Corlys does have a relationship with Damon. Like, they fought at the Stepstones together. He came and supported him. So like maybe their loyalty will lie there, but it does seem like Rhaenys is like just completely over it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I do think the Corlys line will maybe side with the Targaryens just because, yeah, like since even though the kids are not really Laenors, they do still carry the name. And clearly that's important to Corlys, as you mentioned. They probably will be the first ones out from the black side. And the green side will probably take them out. And that's probably why we don't see them in the future. But it will be interesting to see how they end up going out. Just because I've mentioned this in past episodes, I really love Corlys and Rhaenys' relationship, and I love the scenes where they have together, and they have some really powerful scenes in the past 2 episodes as well. So I hope that we get a lot more of them before we eventually do clearly lose them. So
yeah, same, definitely. So I agree with you guys. I think I would put Rhaenyra in a B probably. It seems like at the start of this episode when she walked into that funeral, it did seem like she was kind of like casing the place, right? Just to like observe who was there. People were kind of publicly taking shots at her. Seems like toward the end of the episode, because Allison kind of had that break and really let people see her kind of like lose her cool, that maybe people were on Rhaenyra's side a little bit more, because she did stay calm in that moment and show that, last week she was, like I said, like we said before, like a little bit more diplomatic, offered this kind of almost like this peace offering. And then this week she held it together when she was physically attacked by Allison, the queen. And now she's married to Damon. So she could have a full Targaryen heir soon. Damon also has, well, not really anymore, doesn't have a claim to the throne, but did have a rightful claim to the throne when Viserys didn't have any male heir. So it seems like things might be looking up for her, but it's still like a little bit of a precarious situation.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Who should we? Let's go to Viserys next. I mean, what is there to say about Viserys? I don't even know.
Mess.
Mess. Total
This
mess.
poor man, though. At this point, I feel sorry for him.
I feel horrible for him. I feel horrible for him.
Viserys he's the man who's never going to die, clearly. He's surviving every time jump somehow. I don't know how he's doing it. He looks worse and worse per episode, but somehow he's still doing it. I don't know. I personally, when it comes to Viserys, he's really grown on me over the past few episodes. And I feel like Viserys really does have a good heart, and he really just wants to keep the kingdom stable at all points, even if he is in denial, of course, about like Rhaenyra's children. I think he's always looking ahead to how can he set up Rhaenyra for the best situation and how he can set up the kingdom for the best situation. And I just think Viserys is literally just a genuinely like decent human who's put in a very shitty situation. So for me, Viserys is probably like who I wouldn't say rooting for, because clearly he's gonna die eventually. But like Viserys to me is like in the A rank, in the sense that like I'm basing this on who I like enjoy right now, and I'm really enjoying Viserys's character. I like how he seems like somewhat righteous, and I just like how he's carrying himself. So for me, Viserys would be in the A ranking, even if he is still not really making the best decisions. He's making what he thinks are the best decisions, and I applaud that on Viserys' end.
Yo, he's a B+ for me. A minus, maybe.
I know. Should we add a new row just for him?
The only reason I don't put him at A is because he's literally slowly losing it. So it's just like, he's barely ruling right now. And the reason all this stuff is going awry is because he's not in any control of anything.
True.
Right.
Well, yeah, and that's the problem, right? It's like, okay, Viserys, it does seem like, and we talked about this in some of the past episodes, but it seems like he really just wants to keep, at the end of the day, like his family together. And that, you know, in last week's episode, the first episode of the time jump, he's sitting there and he's watching all of his grandchildren and his children, his grandchildren and his children fight together and practice and spar together. And he just like loves to see it. He's just happy. He meets Rhaenyra's newborn child, and like, yeah, this kid is obviously not Laenor's kid, but like he loves him anyway, and he's just happy and he's proud of his daughter. And it just feels like he just wants everybody to get along. Like at the end of the day, he wants everybody to get along. Same with this week's episode. He sees Damon at his wife's funeral. He invites him back to King's Landing and is like, we'll find a place for you on the court. After so many times that Damon has burned this guy, he's still opening his heart and his arms and like willing to embrace him back into his council. We have this big blowout after these kids get into a fight, and he does stick up for Rhaenyra at the end of the day and is like, if I hear anything else like you're about these kids and their birthright, like your tongues will be cut out. But Allison is clearly the one who is pulling the strings here. Otto's back. It's like everything is just a mess and it's falling out from under him. And he's not making the tough decisions like, go do something with Allison. Like how are you going to hold her accountable for like, she stabbed your daughter or sliced her with a knife. She's clearly spreading rumors around everywhere in the court that your grandchildren are not legitimate children, that they're bastards. She clearly has something going on with Christian Cole, that's not like, doesn't seem like it's anything like questionable, other than like she's literally demanding him, undermining the king and demanding Christian Cole to take out, is it Jace's eye or Lucerys?
Lucerys. Yes.
Lucerys. Okay.
Lucerys. Yeah. Lucerys's eye. Yeah. Like, what the hell is going on here? How are you letting execute Kristen Cole? He shouldn't even have how is he still here? Like, he just, the last time we saw him, before, you know, that we together saw him and talked about him, he was beating someone's face in the middle of your daughter's wedding celebration, and then he's here just protecting the queen. Like, this is craziness to me that Viserys is still just like, well, I don't know, my limbs are falling off and my shitty wife is manipulating me left and right. Now her dad's back, who's also shitty, but it's fine, you know, no big deal. Clearly they're trying to just like revolt right underneath me, but what are you gonna do? But I do love Viserys. Like, I think he is a good guy. That's the problem, is that like I just feel sorry for him. He just has no control, and everybody, you know, he was weak when we first met him, right? He was weak because he could never make a decision, and now he's weak just because he's like old and dying, essentially. He calls Allison Emma in this past episode, which is so sad. I just like, we saw him in the week before just like looking at Emma's ring. Like, he clearly just is like, almost feels like he's just like ready to die and meet his actual true love in the afterlife, because his wife is like clearly not in it for the right reasons with him. It's just rough to watch.
Yeah, no, and you brought up a great point. Him re-electing Otto, that brings him down to the B plus A minus category.
Exactly.
Actually, that was a shit move on his part. I did not want to see Otto back, and he's just giving Allison more power. Like you said, if he doesn't see that Allison is trying to, like, this is really just a ruse of Allison trying to, you know, gain more power on her end, and then she reinserts her dad into the hand. So yeah, I agree. Viserys, yeah, B plus A minus. Like, but I do like him, like you said, Katie. Like, it's hard not to like the guy, even if he makes poor decisions. Yeah,
he just feels like a good guy, right? Like, it's like he's not a bad king. He's just there, kind of, you know. He's not ruling over a peaceful realm. It's just like
he's a little delusional. Like,
he's totally delusional.
He could have saw after the first kid, like, you know, something is up.
Have a conversation with your daughter and be like, dude, you can't do that. Like, I know, I get it, but you can't.
Yeah, like I see it in the first one. Like, let's no more after this. If you're not, it's not going to be legitimate. Like, cut that shit out, you know?
Exactly.
Rough. So where should we put our guy, Viserys?
B.
All right,
I'm going to say B after the conversation. B.
Do we want to put him above Rhaenyra, behind her?
Above Rhaenyra.
Yeah, right. She's a mess.
Rhaenyra is a mess.
She is a mess. I'm going to shift gears and let's talk about our incel king, Christian Cole.
Sorry.
This guy sucks. No, F, 1,000% F. This is the worst dude ever. I'm just going to move him there now and then we'll talk about him. So he's still somehow lingering. Just the absolute worst. He talks about Rhaenyra very openly to Allison in last week's episode, calls her a cunt. Clearly is like fully hate. Like, this guy would be on like 4chan. He's probably on like all these nice guy forums about like, oh, I had sex with this girl one time and now like she, like, it's just wild to me. Clearly he's allied with Allison and probably Otto to come, I would imagine, if once he's, you know, fully ingrained in that whole situation, whatever's to come there. He's like bullying the kids in that sparring. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, what is wrong with you? The only plus I would say for him this week, and it's not even a plus, it's just like way to be a human being, is that when Allison said like, go take Lucerys's eye, you're sworn to me, he was like, yeah, to protect you. But I think it's because this guy, whose name I do not remember, was giving him the eye. Like, what are you going to do here?
Shoot, what is his name?
Don't remember. The other guy in the King's Guard.
He's the head of it, isn't he?
He's the head. Yeah. The King's
Sir
sworn
Harold?
sword.
Sir
Harold.
Harold
Yeah.
Westerling.
Harold. Yes. Harold Westerling. Thank you. Was kind of like, what are you doing, dude? Like, it seems like he's kind of in, like, watching everything go on. I don't know how much more there is to say about this guy, but like, he's got to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is just Kristen Cole's character is another reason why the storytelling on this season has gotten me annoyed. Because the first like 2-3 episodes, I was really rooting for this guy.
Same.
I was seeing Kristen Cole, and like the 180 he did was just not. It didn't feel earned, like I've mentioned before, and I just didn't like it. And he just both. When I took notes for both episodes, I wrote loser multiple times when it comes to Kristen Cole, because he just keeps
Total
doing
loser.
things that I'm like, why is he like? I get Allison has this like, because he spilled the beans to Allison, so clearly he's on Allison's side because Allison knows the truth about him and Rhaenyra. So she probably blackmailed him or something along those lines, which is why he's so like devout to her. But it's just like, you don't have to be such a kiss ass to Allison. Like, you don't have to do every single little thing she tells you to do. Like, have a little bit of a backbone. And yeah, just the rapid decline for me makes him a big F. Like, I can't stand this guy anymore. No. And it's just it makes me sad, honestly, because I really did like him at first. So
yeah,
he's trash.
Pure trash.
Mm-hmm. It seems like, and Chanelle, you probably knew that some of this was coming. I don't know how deep you are into the books, but I know like a lot of book readers are finally we could talk about how Kristen Cole sucks. But it's like, this was such a rapid pivot that like 1 week we were like, oh, Kristen Cole, and then like the next week he was just like, let's go away to Pentos together. And she's like, bro, like, I'm the heir to the throne that my family conquered these lands and created Westeros. I can't do that. And then he's like, well, fuck you then. And then just beats someone's face in at her wedding. And then he's just trash. 10 years later, he's still festering over this like one encounter. Like, get over it.
They had sex once, like,
right,
bro,
like bullying her
up.
kids. Seriously, grow up.
See who he's been hanging out with for the last 10 years, right?
Well,
they were resenting her together.
It's true.
Just a cesspool of negativity. Him
exactly.
and Allison feeding off each other. She's the worst. She's this. I can
honestly, the actress who plays Allison, like, is just like so good at showing like a buildup of resentment over time. The way she acts and stuff, like, it's wild.
Yeah, she's
amazing.
She's great. She really is great. And adult Rhaenyra, I'm so bad. I should know these actresses and actors' names, but the actor who plays adult Rhaenyra, I wasn't 100% in on her on the first episode, but I'm in it. Emma Darcy, is that her name? I'm totally in on her now as of last week or this past Sunday's episode.
And also the fact that it's a non-binary actor playing.
Oh, I did not know that they use their them pronouns. Okay, that's good to know.
But it's just like, and just killing it is so great.
Amazing. Okay. Kristen Cole, nothing else to say about Kristen Cole at this point, right?
F for flop.
This guy's
That's all I have to say.
Flop era.
Flop. Let's talk a little bit about Lena.
That's my sister. Why they did her like that? I'm sorry.
This is where I have the biggest issue with the storytelling. Right here is Lena's story. How are you gonna show us Lena as a fucking child and then like try and betroth her to Viserys? Then we see her as I guess an older teen, flirt with Damon once at a wedding, and we're like, oh, she grew up, she's like so beautiful, like what's her deal? And then literally the next episode you have her just like be reduced down to like a death in childbirth. Essentially, I mean, she goes out like way more of a badass than that, but like we can get a little more of her and her story. Yeah. Like, this is really all we're getting of her. Like, this is my biggest issue. I want to know more about her relationship with Damon. I want to know how they got together and what their relationship was like. It seems like they liked each other for the most part, right? Like she made a comment to him saying, you know, I know I'm not, you know, the wife that you wanted, which I assume she means Rhaenyra, but she's like, you know, I'm okay with that. But like she was like building him up. It's just like, then she's like, I want a dragon rider's death. I want to go home. And then, oh, just kidding. You actually are going to just die in childbirth. And we're giving Damon the ability to make the same decision that Viserys had. And she somehow snuck out of that room and had heartbreaking scene of Vhagar just kind of light her in dragon fire and kill her that way. And she wanted a dragon rider's death. But that's it. Like, we don't get any more.
Yeah, I want to know, like, because she got her dragon late. Like, she got Vhagar later.
Yeah.
So, like, I want to know how she got Vhagar.
Me too.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to see their relationship blossom. Like, I want plot. I want build up.
Yes.
I'm pissed. Like, I agree. Like, this is one thing I totally forgot about all of this. And yeah, no, I kind of wish we had saw that too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Lena's storyline is 100% the one that makes me the saddest because I was really so intrigued by her character.
Yep.
First of all, they gave us a gorgeous melanated character on this show. The original did not
Beautiful.
have that. So come on, Queen. And then like she seemed so interesting. Like her relationship with Damon seemed like it had a lot of layers and depth to it. And I agree. I wanted to see how she got Vhagar. And I just wanted to see so much more of her. And then we literally get like one episode of her as an adult, and then in that same episode she dies on us. And I do agree. I'm glad that like she chose her death because, you know, in that moment it seemed like Damon might have chosen the same death for her as Viserys chose for Emma. So it seems like she had an inkling like, oh no, you're not gonna kill me, Damon.
Oh, this ain't your choice.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like if I'm gonna die and the baby's gonna die, it's gonna die under my hands. And I do like how she went out. I just wish she didn't go out so soon after meeting her. So that's my issue with her character storyline.
I totally agree. I just feel like this is exactly where we lose a lot, right? Like, why don't we just get a little bit of a more rich story for some of these characters? Like, why are we rushing to do this time jump in season 1? Like, of course this is going to get a second season. It's a Game of Thrones show. It's big budget. Like, you guys, like, HBO knows they're going to renew this, right? They said after episode 1 they were going to renew it. So I just don't get why, like, we had to jump so far to the point where it's like we have these characters who are clearly important. Maybe they're not important to like the end game, but we're watching a week by week show here. Like, give us a little bit more. Like you said, like she's a beautiful Black woman. Like, give us some. I know that's not what she was written as, but like maybe we get more than one episode of her where we get to learn a little bit more about her, and she's not just reduced to like dying at giving birth. Like, it's just also like, can we be done with the death in birth? Like, I get it. It was a long time ago. They didn't have like doctors and modern healthcare, but like it's a little triggering.
God damn it,
No,
George
it's like,
R. R. Martin.
there's a lot happening in the world right now, and like
Yeah.
this is like a little too much for me. It's like, how many episodes do we need of this? It's just too much. It's too much.
I'm assuming the rush is because they're going to have the Dance of Dragons part just be the whole Dance of Dragons part just be like really long.
Yeah.
Like that might just be a whole season in itself, right? So, you know, I assume that's why they're rushing through it for the most part. I don't really know. I don't know how many seasons they had planned it out for. I'm hoping that they planned it a little bit better than they planned Game of Thrones, where they're like, okay, we need to lock this into like
Right.
3 seasons. So we have that, we have to do this and this, and then this is going to be a whole season. Like, that's what I'm hoping. That's why I'm hoping that they're rushing through it, because they may only have a certain amount of time. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This is an area where I kind of wish they learned from the first time. And we're like, oh, we got a lot of criticism for, and not that this is necessarily sloppy writing. I think they're just kind of like yada-yadaing through it because they're trying to, like you said, get to the Dance of Dragons. But I want to put Lena in A. I don't know about you guys. I think she was a badass from start to finish. Even as a 12-year-old, she was talking about Vhagar and telling Viserys about Vhagar. Maybe we'll put her in S even, just like as a tribute to her. I think she was taken from us way too soon. I have high hopes for her kids, though. And you see,
yes, me
Damon's
too.
gonna be a good dad to them. So let's cross our fingers. Justice for Lena.
Justice for Lena. Wait, she's dead though. Should she just go in the dead column?
Oh shit, you're right. Oh shit. We do have a dead column. Yeah, she's at the top tier of dead, at least.
Top tier
You're
of dead.
right. Totally forgot about the dead column. My bad. All right, let's talk about her brother. Let's talk about Laenor. Let's talk about the Valerian family. Laenor is he's married to Rhaenyra. Is not the father of any of her children. Seems as though he has tried and was just not able. They were just not able to. I don't know if they were unable to consummate the marriage or he just wasn't able to produce children. It just seems like, as of what they said this week's episode, he just wasn't able to. And he obviously is a gay man and he's dealing with his own shit, right? Like he's in line to be the king consort or, and he's in the spotlight and he can't be himself. And he lost the love of his life, seemingly. He met this new guy, Carl, and he's having a relationship with him. He wants to just go back. There's another issue coming up at the Stepstones with the Triarchy, which I'm not really following exactly what's going on there, but he wants to go fight. Carl's going to fight. He wants to go fight there. He feels like on the battlefield, he can be who he is, right? It's just too much for him. This isn't the life that he wanted. This isn't the life that he wants. This isn't his true self. And it's causing him to be like a little absent, right? Like he's not really around for a lot of these pivotal moments. He wasn't around for the fight and the issue with the family meeting, I guess we can call it, this past week. It's just not a great look, but Rhaenyra seems to be mostly okay with it. She does kind of pull rank on him a little bit when he wants to go to the Stepstones, and she's like, no, like people are already questioning our kids, like you cannot leave. And he seems okay. And he says to her this week, I haven't been the best husband and father to you, but I'm recommitting myself and preparing our family for you to take the throne. And we are led to believe that actually that's not going to happen. And Laenor gets murdered at the hand of Damon and Rhaenyra plotting for their own marriage. But then we find out, which apparently was news to book readers as well, that actually Laenor just escaped and is going to Pentos to live his true life with Carl, which is, shout out to you, Laenor. I'm really happy for him. I'm sad for Rhaenys and Corlys just losing both of their children. But like, I feel like Laenor is genuinely a good dude, and I really liked his relationship with Rhaenyra. It seems like they did support each other and genuinely care for each other. And he even says this past week, like, I curse the gods for making me this way. And Rhaenyra's like, I don't. Like, you're a genuine, caring, great guy. Like, it's not easy to find that. Not a lot of men are like that, which is sweet. Like, she's accepting of him. So I really like Laenor a lot. It's just, he's dealing with his own stuff, and it just causes him not to be as present.
Yeah, I'll give him like a B. Maybe a C. Like,
yeah, I think
he's
maybe
not much
C.
of anything. He's not much of anything at this point. He's just like a figurehead. He's not doing anything to, move anyone forward. Really, didn't produce any children.
Yeah,
he's not fighting. He's not doing anything. I'll give him a C.
Yeah, I feel like he's a very middle of the road character. Like, if we got more of him, maybe I'd like him more. I do wish we would have seen more, again, the damn time jump, but like his grief process after losing, I don't remember his name, but after Christian Cole killed Joffrey, I wish we would have seen more of that process. Maybe that would have made me feel more attached and care more about this character, because I'm sure that must have been super hard for him, like losing the love of his life, et cetera, in such a brutal way. So seeing that aftermath, I feel like would have helped me like them more. So I am sad about that. But I do agree, like he does seem like a decent human who just doesn't know how to manage a situation. Similar kind of to like Viserys in that sense, that like they're just decent people who don't know how to handle the power that's thrown on them. I was very... I honestly, the show got me good this past episode. I thought they really did plot to kill him. So I was ready to come into this episode and be like, Rhaenyra's an F. Like, Rhaenyra got my man killed. I hate this hoe. But no, Rhaenyra did not, and I love that.
But it was supposed to happen, Javier. It was supposed to happen. Yeah, they changed it.
Oh my God, I'm so glad. That made Rhaenyra so much more redeemable to me, because if she would have gone through with that, for me, Rhaenyra would have been an F. So I'm so glad he survived. Yeah. I hope he lives happily ever after. Like, if we don't see more later, whatever, he should just go live happily ever after.
Oh yeah, he probably won't be back, because he was Damon plotted for his death, and then he died just somewhere else.
Yeah,
not where they had him die. But
I guess he snuck it. Damon kind of went into the castle of Driftmark, just killed some random dude patrolling the hallway, right? Like, looked like he choked him out or something, or snapped his neck. And then they staged this fight between him and Carl. It looked like he was going to be paying Carl off to actually kill Laenor, but then surprise, he's on the boat. His head is shaved. His blonde hair is gone. Silver hair is gone.
Yeah.
And he's off to live his best life in Pentos, where kind of like what Kristen Cole wanted to do with Rhaenyra, right? Like, no one will know. We can live nameless and we can do whatever we want. Laenor gets to do that now, which apparently is not like, you know, like you said, Chanelle, not what happened in the books. I think the book readers were just led to believe that it was Laenor that died. So good for George R. R. Martin and our writers of this show for giving Laenor his hopefully his happily ever after. Hopefully Carl is good to him. Carl with a Q, QARL or something like something ridiculous. Yeah. I agree with you guys though. I think I would put Laenor maybe in a C. Like, he was a nice guy. That's really all we can like. It seemed like he was a good friend to Rhaenyra, but just had his own. He was distracted by everything else he had going on, like in his mind and what he was dealing with. So, yeah, we can give him a C. I mean, technically he's kind of dead, but not really. He's faked dead, but we'll keep him in a C. But again, I do not think we will likely see him again.
Yeah.
Let us talk a little bit about Larys Strong.
Let's not.
Yeah, let's not. Can we put him in the dead category? Even though he's
I wish that we could. Yeah,
Dead to
he's
me.
going. I'm putting him above Kristen Cole in F, I think. Like, he is top tier F to me. Like, this guy
so you're
murdered
saying he's
his
worse than
family.
Cole. He's
Yeah,
worse than-
he's worse than Cole.
Okay,
to me.
because usually these.
Oh,
rankings,
yeah,
it's
no,
like,
you're right. Then he should
yeah.
go in the back. He should go in
Yes,
the
I
back.
think he's worse than Cole. Like,
Yeah. So, Larys Strong, we find out is like still somehow like weaseled his way into being besties with Allison. We see him in last week's episode just like not only eating dinner with her, but like not even waiting until the queen gets into the room to start eating dinner. Like, this guy is like feeling himself. Like, he can do whatever he wants. He knows that he can. And she just says some flippant comment about like, I wish my dad were here. He would be loyal to me. Like, that would be a person that I would have on my side. So he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go down to the dungeon, cut these dudes' tongues out so they can't rat me out for what I'm about to have them do, send them to Harrenhal and light my dad and brother on fire and murder them.
Yeah.
And that's where he is. And then she pretty much is like, whoa, I did not ask for this. And he's like, don't worry. Like, you'll get me back.
It's
soon.
fine.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all
Don't
good.
worry about it.
Yeah.
this man is twisted. Like, the fact that he can kill his dad and his brother for nothing, because Allison is not giving him really anything. Like, just to have this idea of like almost like power by like proxy that he kind of wants. It's what it feels like. But like, I feel like at the end of the day, Allison is not gonna use him for anything more than literally for her gain. Like, he's not going to get a powerful position. I don't think Allison's ever going to get powerful position, but if she were, I wouldn't see her giving this man any power. Like, she would just use him as like a little, you know, like almost like a minion. Like, this is my minion, and like he can do things for me that like I won't do. But yeah, no, he's sick. Like, I can't stand his character. I don't want him on my TV anymore. So take him off.
I feel like he saw someone that he had something in common with, which was he's in a kind of back position behind his brother and his father. Like, he's kind of unseen, doing his duty, whatever. She's behind the king and Rhaenyra, whatever. They're kind of at the bottom of the totem pole. So I feel like he felt like she had a lot in common with him. And that was the reason, like, he was like, you know what? Let's help each other out. Let's put ourselves higher on this totem pole by like getting ahead. I'm going to be the Lord of Harrenhal now. You know, we'll get your sons at the top, whatever, or like by, you know, really bringing a big blow to Rhaenyra here or whatever. So, you know, I feel like that's what it is. Like, I feel like he has a bit of a crush or whatever because it's someone in common with him. That's what I think, at least, or what I see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. I think I've been doing a little bit of listening to the official HBO podcast and a few other podcasts that just talk a little bit about this. If you guys don't, just generally, listeners too, don't listen to Jason Concepcion talk about Game of Thrones. Like, I feel like he gives such a good wealth of knowledge, just not spoilery either, just like such a deep like layer of book info for that really helps fill in some of the blanks. And he has his own podcast called X-Ray Vision as well. I think it's through Crooked Media or something like that. But I was listening to him, and I was on a road trip this week, and he was talking a lot about how being a kinslayer is like the worst thing that you could possibly be in this realm. Like, it said that you'll be cursed if you murder your family. So like it can't go unsaid how awful and down low and deep and twisted of a thing it is that he had his father and his brother killed. So this is something I guess that just like does not generally happen, because everybody knows that this is like the worst possible thing that you can do. It's also, he had mentioned that a lot of book readers, and just like the way that the book gave the background of Laris, is that like no one really knew what his end goal was. It's just like he's just like twisted. This dude freaks me out. Like, at the end of last week's episode, I was almost like, okay, we had this time jump, we're way ahead, shit's going crazy, this dude just had his family killed. Like, Lionel Strong seemed like such a good guy, like the great hand to the king. Like, it seemed like he had just been really loyal and like not out for himself. Finally, someone who was just a genuine person giving great advice. And it seemed like Viserys also agreed. And this guy just like had his dad murdered, like brutally murdered. Like, it just like, you know, it's like one of those things when you think back on it and you're just like, oh, that like just makes my skin, like just makes me feel like, ugh. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, I'm just gonna throw it all away. I'm just gonna like spoil it for myself. Like, I don't even care. I didn't. I held strong. But yeah, like it was nothing. And I'm just like, oh, this like, these are like those things that just make you uneasy. This guy, I totally agree, Javier. Like, I don't even want to see him on my screen. Like, ugh. He just like
creeps me out.
Creeps.
Yeah,
totally.
It makes me like almost itchy. Like, get off. Like,
yeah.
Go. Yeah, exactly. Like, go away, please.
Yeah. It's not like I'm like nerd. Like, what is he gonna do next? What's he gonna do next?
He's unhinged.
He is unhinged.
The most unhinged character I've seen since in a while on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like I think we had talked, and I know a lot of people probably were comparing him to Littlefinger. Like, I don't think Littlefinger would ever go this low. Like, I don't know that we've ever seen, maybe Ramsay is this bad. Like, I don't know, but like Ramsay's more openly brutal, that where this guy's like just scary, sneaky brutal.
No. Ramsay's like a whole other realm of evil, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever
Ramsay
seen
was much worse
like
in the books than he is in the TV
Yeah,
show,
that's what I've
yeah.
heard. Yeah, no, we do not stand Ramsay. Yeah, all right, we'll leave this guy deaf. I don't think we want to, unless there's anything else we want to.
No, we're good. Moving on.
Don't spend too much time on this weasel.
Yeah, no. I do want to bring up Lionel Strong really quickly. I know he's going to go in the dead column, but like, again, shout out to this guy. I'm really sorry. You were a good stand-up man. You wanted to bring your son, you wanted to take your son Harwin away from the castle to avoid any whispers, because obviously everybody knew what was going on here with him and Rhaenyra. Unfortunately, he was trying to do the honorable thing. He tried to step down because he brought shame upon his family, brought shame upon the kingdom. Viserys wouldn't let him do it. So he's like, okay, well, at least let me take my son back to Harrenhal and escort him. Like, why do you need to escort him? You don't need to. You don't need to do that. Stay there. Yeah, he's an adult. He's like the strongest knight in the kingdom at this point. Like, let him go. But he took him, and unfortunately at Larys's hand, he was murdered. And now we're stuck again with Otto Hightower, which... How did we get here? How did Allison get the king to do this? Like, I have no idea, but I just want to give a quick shout out to Lionel Strong. I think in like the first or second episode of this podcast, I was like, I don't like this guy. He gives me like weird, but I take it all back. He was a good guy. And it sucks. I guess nice guys do finish last in the realm of Game of Thrones, unfortunately. Any last words should we eulogize Lionel Strong, or?
I'll miss him, but sucks.
He'll be missed.
It just sucks. Yeah.
Sucks.
It sucks. He was a good guy, I agree, like, you know.
Yeah. Total bummer. Let us talk a little bit about, let's just go to Otto, the former hand. Then he was replaced by Lionel. Now he's the hand again. I can't believe we have to deal with this dude again. Yeah. I think he's probably top F. God, I don't know. I hate all three of these dudes so much that I just don't know. Like,
this is all his fault.
Yeah, it is all his fault. Who's the worst F? Like, or the best F, I guess. I don't know.
At least Kristen Cole's pretty.
Yeah, at least he's pretty. You're right. At least he's
And he
pretty.
didn't give Allison the knife, so like
That's true.
you
All right,
know.
yeah, he can go. We'll put Otto in middle F for now. Otto's back. I can't even
Boo.
believe it. I mean, I will say this guy's a good actor. So when he left in the wedding episode, Rode Away in the Rain, I was like, oh, it's kind of a bummer that like this guy really delivered those lines really well. And at that point, I was like, it seems like he cares a little bit about the realm and doesn't want there to be war. No, I was wrong. He only cares about his family and himself and undermining the king. And I just cannot believe Viserys let this man back after that amazing scene we had of Viserys, like basically shredding this guy. And yet here he is. Like, there's no one else. Is there no one else? Can't Damon be your hand? Like, just invite Damon back. Like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I don't like Otto. I don't care for Otto. If pre this past episode, I probably would have put him in like D, because like you said,
Yeah.
Katie, I do agree that it seemed like he was just trying to do what's best for his family, and like he was not like absolutely the worst human being on the show. But now he's down there with the worst human being on the show, and he's clearly very he just wants things to be a better outcome for himself at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I do wish we would have seen how he weaseled his way back into the to the hand position, but again, this time jump, we just got to accept that it is, and it is what it is.
Yeah. I have to assume it was Allison, right? That got him back
Mhm.
in good graces somehow. But I mean, we really didn't see a ton of him. We saw him kind of like lurking in the background at Lena's funeral at the beginning of this week's episode. And then we did see him after Allison had her, I guess like her outburst and sliced Rhaenyra and wanted to take, what was his name again? Lucerys's eye. He didn't say anything, but then he went to her quarters and she was like, this was unbecoming of me. I betrayed the king, whatever. And he's like, yeah, all true. But like, I didn't think you had it in you. That was fucking awesome. And I'm like, is this guy for real? Like, okay, this is a problem. And he's like, and the boy's right. Like he gained a dragon and that's great. Like we're going to war basically. So it really has nothing to do with the realm and the security of the realm. It's really just like to further himself. And this guy is an asshole. He sucks.
The worst. I knew he was coming back, but I'm surprised another time jump casualty being we don't know why he's back, how he got back.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you know.
Chanelle, in the book, do they give more detail around how he got back, or is it just another like, somehow? As I don't know if you guys are Star Wars fans, but it feels like it's like, oh, somehow Palpatine's back. Like in Episode 9, like this is what it feels like here. Oh, somehow Otto's back.
I haven't gotten there yet, so I can't tell you. But yeah, there's definitely a reason. I read it in like when I was trying to prepare for like our first episode, like that he did come back, and I don't remember what the reason was that he came back. But yeah, they do explain how he gets back for sure.
Okay, well, hopefully once this season is over, I'm going to try and do a little bit of a deep dive and see like if we can fill in some of the blanks without doing as much as I can without getting spoiled. I know it's not going to be easy, but we'll see.
That's why I'm hoping for flashbacks so that we can get a little bit more
Yeah.
details into some of the behind the scenes stuff, you know?
Yeah, totally. This is just an unexplained open question for me of like Viserys was so hard on him when he kicked him out and fired him. First of all, Viserys needs to get used to like chopping people's heads off. Like kill these people so they don't keep coming back around. Like I just don't whatever.
Heads.
Yeah, take their heads, put them on a spike. But alas, here we are. Anything else to say about Otto? Should we move on? I guess we'll see what comes from him this week and moving forward. Let us have a little bit of a palate cleanser. Let's talk about Corlys. We have seen over the past couple of weeks that Corlys, I mean, specifically this week, we talked about it a little bit earlier too, that like he knows obviously that Rhaenyra's kids are not Laenor's kids, but he seemingly was open to just saying whatever in the future, no one's going to care. Like it doesn't matter. They have our name. That's what's going to be remembered. Like they're the rightful heirs of Driftmark. Rhaenys wants to not inherit or disinherit Rhaenyra's kids, which would be like a huge deal. I feel like this would be like a huge deal and cause even more of an issue in this family and just moving forward for Rhaenyra and her legitimacy as queen. And he's like, no, like it doesn't matter. This is their name and this is who it is. And he basically says to, Jace, I think, is the older son.
Jace is the older son.
Yeah, he says to Jace, Rhaenyra and Laenor, quote unquote, Laenor's kid, you're going to inherit Driftmark one day. This will all be yours. And poor Jace is like, I don't want to, because that means like everyone will be dead, which was so sad. But he does seem like, his brother was casting doubt on these kids, like in a speech at a funeral, in a eulogy at a funeral for Laenor's sister, was basically just like, yeah, we need to keep the blood pure or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Corlys, like, the first thing he does is go and say, like, you're going to inherit this, and, like, kind of doubles down, which is nice. I like Corlys a lot. I think he seems like a really smart, pragmatic leader. I think in the beginning of the show, he was a little bit firm, or, like, a little bit, I don't know how to, maybe fast to act, or wanted to, like, really show his power. But it does seem like he's come along, and he just feels like he's just a really smart, pragmatic guy who cares about his family and cares about the future of his house.
I disagree a little bit on I do think he cares about his family, but I think he cares more about his name than his actual family.
His legacy.
Yeah, his legacy,
Yeah.
the legacy of his family more than anything. And we saw it, when they were talking about the children, Rhaenyra and Leonor's children, like, okay, what about their names though? Like, what names do they get? Right? Because if you cared about your family, you wouldn't really care about what their last name is.
Right.
And then he's like, okay, well, they have boys, so it's going to the boys, right?
Right.
Because if it was about family or whatever, right? At the end of the day, it wouldn't have been hard to give it to his daughter's children because they
That's
are his
true.
family. But it's about the last name. Because again, if it goes to her, to his daughter's family, it's Targaryen again, right? So it seems like legacy is very important to him. Like, even his wife is like, listen, we've already crossed the bridge of me being the queen. Like, it's over. And he's like, no, you were supposed to. Like, this is the biggest legacy of them all. This would have been the queen of the Seven Realms. And that big legacy is gone. So he seems to be trying to gain that legacy over and over again with all these things. So it's just like, I do agree family is really important to him, but I feel like his legacy is even more important.
Yeah, Chanelle, I actually think you're right. Like, I think you're totally right. It does feel like legacy is completely the thing that matters to him most. And you kind of see it like when he talks to Damon in, I don't remember if it's the third episode or what, second episode maybe, where he talks about kind of like his past and how he really built this up. And it feels like you're absolutely right. He wants to leave like his name to be in power, which feels like what's happened moving forward with his children could probably be like one of the worst things to happen, right? Like, he's not going to have any heirs with his name that are rightful to Driftmark. Lost both of his children in the span of what seems like a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, like rough for that family. Javier, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with both of y'all in the sense that, first of all, I do like Corlys. But I do agree that, as Chanelle was saying, he does care more about the title than he does care about his family. But at the end of the day, the title's a little bit more important to him. However, the way that, especially since we are doing this ranking, the way that I look at it is, I don't think Corlys is a bad guy, and he hasn't done anything really terrible in the show. So that makes me like, kind of like, I like him. Like, he's trying to find the best ways to keep his family's name in the mix of power, basically, and he's not doing it so far in any way that's super malicious, it's super like terrible. So I really like that about him. And overall, multiple times I've mentioned, like, I really like the actor who plays Corlys. I think he does a great job. I love Corlys scenes. And then I agree, like, I think Corlys is like a smart man. And it's sad, as we talked about earlier, that his family line and everything is eventually going to die out. Because first of all, I like his family, I like his line. So it's going to be sad to see that happen. But yeah, no, I genuinely like Corlys. And I do think that even though he does care more about legacy, he's not a bad person. So for me in the rankings, I'm somewhere between CB. I don't know where I want to put him personally. So I'll let y'all decide.
I think he's a B.
I almost was going to say maybe we should put him in A, but that could be a little bit of an overachieving spot for him. I just think he's politically really savvy, right? He's very diplomatic. He might be a little stubborn in ways, like where he didn't come out and greet the king, and years went by and he was, they didn't communicate. But now that they've kind of like aligned again, it does seem like he's pretty loyal to that. And even when Rhaenys was like, we have to disinherit Rhaenyra's kids. He's like, what are you like? And you're right. I think it is all about the name, right? But I do think like he could just be petty, and he's not, right? Like he could be petty and be like, yeah, you're right. This is fucked up. Like these kids are clearly not part of our family. I like him, and he does. He's seemingly they're like the richest house, right? They have dragons. They have a lot going for them.
He's the most consistent,
powerful, most consistent, level-headed, and they have a lot of money and power and influence. And it seems like they're going to be, if we're rooting for the Targaryens, right? We're rooting for the Blacks. I think he's going to be hopefully an ally to them. I feel like would give him an A.
I'm down with an A for him because he's definitely in a much better situation than Rhaenyra and her father are. But
feels like he's more respected.
He's more respected. Like, he doesn't annoy me as much with his decisions for the most part. Politically, he's in the right place, right?
Yeah, and he was also, I think, in a few episodes ago, was planning to marry Lena off to I don't remember which house, was it Essos or someone in the Free Cities, if Pentos maybe. So it seems like he also has alignments on the other side of, outside of the Seven Kingdoms and with the Free Cities. So that I think sets him up pretty well too.
Yeah.
What do you think, Javier? Are you okay with that? Top of B? We can put him top of B.
Y'all have convinced me to top of B because.
All right, let's top of B.
Because I just don't think Corlys has really made any gains. He you know what I'm saying? Like true. In terms of his political power, he slowly is just losing power if you really think about it. So that's why I would put him in B. For me, for someone to be an A, they really have to be like succeeding at what they're trying to do. And unfortunately, while Corlys is trying hard, he's just not. He's just missing, the goal slightly. So that's why I think if we can agree with high B, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, I'm good with high B. Totally good with high B. Let's move on to his wife, Rhaenys. Rhaenys is a little bit more traditional, it seems like, than Corlys. It seems like she really is not here for Rhaenyra's bullshit. She seems very like, this is not the way that this is supposed to work. I am not the queen because I was not supposed to be queen because I'm a woman, and I'm fine with it. I've come to terms with it. I could have been the first queen, and it does feel like that's probably why Corlys was like, you would have been the first queen. Like, imagine that. Like, you would go down in history. Yeah. I mean, they would go down in history anyway as a queen or a king, but still, like, she would have been the first and would have changed history forever. Instead, it feels like she's kind of like, this just isn't going to happen, and there's going to be instability. She wasn't super supportive of the union of Laenor and Rhaenyra because of Laenor clearly not being interested in women and putting him in danger. And she's like, this just isn't going to work. We know that this is like, they're not going to be romantically involved. She was kind of right. They were a good partnership and a good match and a good marriage, it seems like, but clearly did not produce any heirs and caused just a mess. And even this week, she was ready to just cut it off and just be like, nope, these kids are not going to inherit Driftmark. It's just not happening. It does feel like if Corlys doesn't want to remain loyal to the Blacks, like she's very, whether or not she moves to the Greens and aligns with them or just like bows out completely, I don't know, but it doesn't feel like she's super supportive of the Targaryens at this moment. I would lean to put her more in like a C area, but you guys let me know what you think about her.
No, I'm down for that too, because I feel like not much going on with her. I feel like she's kind of losing too, because with her trying to get Lena's children, the Driftmark inheritance, and she just kind of was like, okay, whatever, I guess. Right. I don't know. It's just like not much of anything. Like I don't know what she's contributing at this point.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Very I would have totally agree with putting her in the C ranking. She's not doing anything. She has no real pull with anybody. The one thing she wanted to do with her daughter, with her granddaughters, is not going to happen for her. And it just seems like the fact that she doesn't really care really about the throne or about power. I don't even know what. Unfortunately, I don't really know what her end game is. It just seems like she's just there to just for the ride. So for me, that's like a C character, because I don't dislike her by any means, but there's nothing to root for, and she's not conniving or plotting or doing anything to make me want to root for this character. So for me, it's very like, see, like, okay, whatever. If I see Rhaenys again, fine.
Yeah.
If I don't see her again, fine. Like, she's a Debbie Downer, honestly. So put her in.
Yeah, she is a little bit of a Debbie Downer. I'm kind of disappointed. Like when we first met her, it seemed like she was like a total. I mean, and I'm sure she is a badass, right? Like I think she's just maybe worn down by like, listen, this didn't work for me, and this young girl thinks it's gonna work for her. Viserys has his head in the clouds. Like he has no clue what's going on, and like it's just all a mess. So she just kind of like gave up on it and just wants to keep things status quo and just let Aemon be, or Aegon be heir. I would put her here. I would put her above Laenor just because we're not going to see Laenor again.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, my hope for Rhaenys is that she kicks it into high gear soon because I think she has the chops, right? Like it seems like she is really strong and is really smart and very political. I just want to see it. I want to see it.
I want to see some motive or something from her.
Yeah, something. All right, let's get into Allison. I was saving her closer to the end because I think we have a couple of like bigger characters to talk about. We have Allison, we have Damon, and then the rest are kind of just like side characters we could kind of speed through. So let us talk about Allison. We have a new actress. She's pissed. I mean, she just like this hate for Rhaenyra has been festering and festering and festering and festering. She is aligning with people who are not very honorable. We have Kristen Cole and Larys Strong right now as her two main allies, along with her dad, who's now back. She has four kids, right? 4 kids, 3 sons and a daughter. Don't think we've met her youngest son though. Am I wrong?
2 sons and a daughter, no?
She
had 4, but maybe she has 3.
No, it's just 3. It's the older son, the daughter, and then the youngest son.
Okay. She is coming apart at the seams, it feels like. As each day goes on, it feels like she's just losing her grip more and more. The thing is, though, I feel like she has, while like emotionally, it feels like she's can't hold it together right now and she's just high strung. She has way more influence. We see her at the small council meeting. We see her basically involved in every conversation that Viserys has. When Lionel Strong tries to step down, she's there and wants to know why and like say it. She's demanding to see Rhaenyra's kids the minute that they're born, I guess, because I don't know, I'm assuming like maybe the Maesters could do something to change the hair color if they have a chance, whatever. She really seems to have like a powerful hold on a lot of what's going on. And as we talked about earlier, like Viserys isn't stopping it. He's letting her. He kind of seems like he's just kind of given up to her. She does seem to be a little bit concerned with Larys murdering his family, which like rightfully so. You should be concerned because like what is this guy going to do to you if things don't go your way? But this week, I mean, every time we see her talk to her kids, it's very much like, Rhaenyra is going to kill you because you are a threat to her. So we need to kill her first, essentially. Like, kill her kids and kill her. Like, she's going over the top. It's like she took Otto's words so to heart that, like, it's just like she's repeating them in her head over and over and over again. And she's just, like, losing it.
Yeah, she's going crazy.
Yeah, she wants to take Lucerys's eye this episode. She slices Rhaenyra. It's just like, whew, there's a lot going on with Allison.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like the years of performing her duty and being like the perfect wife and not being able to step out of line is like, but then watching Rhaenyra being able to do whatever the heck she wants and
face no consequences.
Face no consequences and getting it all in the end is just getting to her to the point where it all melted down, you know, when she went after Rhaenyra. So it's just an absolute, I get it. That's how it is. Honestly, I feel like she could have just like befriended Rhaenyra, been like, yo, we're cool. Let's betroth our children or whatever. Like, you know, end of it. Like, but I think she let her father's words get to her head. It just kind of trickled down to her children because her children are actually just little shits.
1,000%.
The daughter, I think, is like some sort of like she's got something in her. She can see things or whatever, predict things. She predicted a couple things actually in the
Yeah, but the
episode.
eye, you'd have to
the
close an
eye.
eye in order to get a dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like this could have all really been prevented if she just like kept her cool, did her thing, befriended Rhaenyra, whatever. Like literally they could have betrothed the children and then her daughter was like the queen or whatever. Like
Right.
end of story, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, this Allison is definitely Allison has become the character to me with the most layers on the show.
Yeah.
Especially since we're talking about ranking. Allison is hard to rank, like in the sense that, like, am I rooting for Allison to win? No, definitely not. But am I enjoying Allison's storyline? Yes. I think her descent into like this like kind of like mad queens type of situation where she's like losing, she's kind of unhinged at some points. And then she like tries to like tone it back down and realize, okay, I don't want to go too far with my unhinged antics. Like when she sliced Rhaenyra, taking the sun from Rhaenyra's eye, which was very drastic. But then we see at the end of this last episode that she was more, you know, she was more composed and starting to see the bigger picture for her game plan. And a lot of this, I feel like Allison has made a lot of steps forward for her family to get the power they want. Even though, like I said, I'm not rooting for them, she's still doing some of the right things. She has this new dragon Vagar. She has this Otto's back in power. So she's definitely making steps forward and gaining power. So in the terms of ranking, for me, I feel like Allison is the one who's made the most movement. So I would probably put her in the B ranking.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put her in A because I don't like her. I don't want her to win the power. But I do, and she has had some fallbacks with the whole unhinged behavior. So she's not like a perfect character. But overall, I think she would definitely go in the B because she's made a lot of steps forward for herself and her family.
So. I feel like it's a lot of back and forth with her and Rhaenyra. So like I wouldn't put her ahead of Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Because Rhaenyra still is the person who's gonna go, who's set to go on the throne.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put her ahead of her just yet.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. And it's like her true feelings are showing, right? And even Rhaenyra this episode was like, you know, I'm basically saying like, I'm glad that you're doing this because now everybody can see exactly who you are. Like Rhaenyra has been trying to be diplomatic with her. We saw her generous offer last week. We saw her saying like, you know, we used to be friends. Like I get that Otto, must feel very isolated, right? Like she's around a bunch of Targaryens. She's around people that are loyal to the king. We even saw her when she was younger, and the younger actor playing her saying like, you know, I used to have a lot of friends, or I have no friends. People just see me as the queen, but I like to still think that I'm Allison. So like, obviously she's just getting more and more and more isolated as she moves forward. She doesn't have like a true ally, which is why she's falling in with Larys. Seems like her only like actual ally, which is scary in itself. But she also has Kristen Cole, who I think we have to assume is blackmailed based on everything that she knows about him, but also like he hates Rhaenyra, so he's just like, driven by his like incel hate. But it just, I just think like the isolation is clearly getting to her, and it doesn't seem like she, you know, I could see a lot of similarities between her and Cersei maybe, but I think the difference is that Cersei loved her family, and I don't think that Allison even gives a shit about her kids. Like I think she just wants to like get them in power and win. Like I just don't think that she, like Cersei loved her kids, loved Joffrey, loved Jaime's not her kid, but like loved her brother. Like it felt like that is what motivated her, like being a Lannister. I don't know what Allison's motivation is other than like, I hate Rhaenyra and I want to win this battle, basically. Like she needs to face consequences. That's what it feels like is driving her. So I guess, you know, obviously we'll see what happens, but I think this is a good spot for her.
Yeah, you can kind of just see that her children are just like,
they're like pawns in the game.
Pawns and they're jerks. And, you know, both her sons are just like so obnoxious. And
yeah. And she like doesn't even care what her daughter's saying. Like she's telling her about that like centipede thing or whatever, you know, like in the last week's episode. Yeah. And it's just like she's just sitting there like
she's bored as hell. Whatever. Like
yeah, I mean understandable kind of. But like, you know, it just she doesn't care. So we'll see.
She's just doing her duty. That's it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you made the Cersei comparison because I wrote that down in my notes that I wanted to bring that up as well because I definitely see that comparison too. And similar to, for me at least, like I thought Cersei was a very interesting character in Game of Thrones. Again, I wasn't rooting for her, but it was just so cool to see how Cersei was moving pieces around to get what she wanted towards her end game. And that's what I kind of feel Allison's role has become. That she's actually like, now I feel like Allison is thinking in a political mind more than in the first few episodes. She seemed very like a naive young girl. And now it seems like, okay, how can I get what I want? Like you guys said, like she's using her kids as pawns in this almost game, using Larys strong. So yeah, like I really am ultimately intrigued to see what continues to happen with Allison.
Yeah, same. And I think with Cersei, the main difference, aside from her really loving and caring for her kids and her family, she just felt very like complex to me. Like she just felt like they're like you said, I think, you know, she was layered and she was a very interesting character, where Allison just seems like she's just trying to gather these pieces and win. That's what seems like it's her motivation, where I'm curious to see if more comes. And maybe that's just due to how quickly we're moving through these years. Sure. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with her.
Yeah.
Okay, last main character we're going to talk about, and then I think we can kind of fly through some of the kids. And Damon. Damon is back this week. Damon and Rhaenyra are married. Congrats to you, third wife.
So that was the end game.
You got your girl, Damon. You got her, even though she's your niece. You won at the end. You married the girl you wanted. He's been in Pentos for quite a while, it seems like. I don't think we know exactly how long he's been there, but it seems like he's just left after the wedding. He just took off. He married Lena. They had their kids. They're in Pentos. He's reading a lot. I mean, it doesn't really seem like he's been super active. And he's another one, you know, we've been talking a lot about people who are like gaining and losing things. It seemed like he lost a lot, right? Like he had no claim to the throne. He was kicked out of King's Landing by his brother because of his actions. He did gain a wife and kids, and they have dragons. They had Vhagar. But like politically, there was nothing really there for him. There's nothing really left for him to do. So he was just staying in the free cities and, I don't know, learning. I don't really know what else he was up to. We never really know what else he's doing. It just seems like, and even Lena is like, this is not you. This is not the man I married. Like, you know, we should go back to Westeros. We should go back to, you know, where we're from. He did go back this week for her funeral to Driftmark. He sealed the deal with Rhaenyra. They had sex. Very dark scene. A lot of darkness in this episode. Like it was like
that
the long night all over again.
So mad. I was like, I can't see half this stuff. Like, what's happening?
I was watching on a laptop because I was away. So like we were watching on a laptop. Normally we're watching on TV. So I don't know if it was better on TV. But I was like, we like move the laptop screen. Like, is it like a it was like I couldn't see anything.
Unless you're in complete darkness.
Yeah. It was wild. It was a little wild. But I think we're led to believe that he was able to finish this time with Rhaenyra, where supposedly he wasn't able to finish the first time, even though we couldn't really tell that was what was going on unless you watched after the episode. They came up with this plot to get Laenor out of the picture. They are now married. They got married in, I guess, traditional Valerian ceremony rather than bringing seven into it. It seemed like they did the same where they cut their lips, whatever. It does seem like this is like a political union for Rhaenyra. It cements her claim a little bit more. It's true Targaryen and Targaryen. They have the right to the throne. Maybe they'll produce some heirs with blonde hair. We'll see. But it also does seem like this is what both of them wanted. It seems like all along, like we saw her flirting with him at the wedding and was like, just take me then. Like, if you want me, take me. And even this week she was like, well, I'm of age now. So like, let's fuck. And they did on the beach or wherever they were. Again, hard to tell where they were exactly. What do you guys think about Damon? I mean, like there wasn't really that much that happened with him other than like this big plot point. But like until we got there, we haven't seen a ton.
Yeah. So for me personally, Damon, again, so with this, again, I'm thinking of this in the ranking sense. So a lot of times we're talking about the ranking, we're talking about what people are doing to like increase their power or get what they want across. And I kind of unfortunately disagree with you, Katie. It seemed like this was Rhaenyra wanting to be with Damon and Rhaenyra wanting to marry Damon. It seemed like, like we talked, like I know we love Big Brother, and it's similar to that. Like whose move was it? It seemed to be like it was Rhaenyra's move, and Damon is going to benefit from it. So to me, that's why like Damon, he also seemed very hesitant to want to like sleep with Rhaenyra and like this whole like marriage, which at first I was kind of shocked because I thought he'd be more gung-ho about it. So I do think that was more of Rhaenyra's plan, and Damon, it works out for Damon in that sense. So that's why I wouldn't rank Damon into B character category. For me, Damon would be in the C category. I also didn't like how for the past 2 episodes, like Damon's storyline has been pretty up until this marriage. We haven't seen much Damon. Like the episode after the time jump, nothing really was happening with Damon. He watched that like during the big fight scene, etc. And this episode, he didn't really make any moves, in my opinion. It was also Rhaenyra's idea almost to like kill off Laenor also. So it seems like Rhaenyra's actually moving a lot of the pieces, and Damon is just going to be benefiting from them.
She's
and also didn't like
master.
Yeah. And I also didn't like how Damon, his girls were attacked, and when he walked into the like scene, the whole family scene, he was not at all concerned about his daughters. He was just standing there watching, like enjoying the show, which I didn't like that either. So that another hit for Damon for me, because I don't know if he really loves his daughters, unfortunately, from the past 2 episodes. He seems kind of nonchalant towards them. Like, okay, I have these daughters, boohoo, which makes me sad because his daughters seem like interesting, especially since they remind me of Lena, and I love Lena. So I hope there's something there with that relationship. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that I think Damon should go in the C category because he's not making a lot of moves. Things are falling into place for what he originally wanted. So I guess it's good for him to be. I would put him in the C category. So
yeah, Chanelle, what do you think?
I think that's fine because he hasn't been really doing anything either. I mean, he did some stuff to kind of stick up for Rhaenyra, like during the fight he held off Cole. He kind of giggled during Lena's funeral because the Corliss's brother was kind of like doing the insinuation of the children, and he was kind of giggling to take away whatever. But for the most part, he's just been kind of laying back. He's not himself right now. I think the reason he's staying in Pentos for the most part is like he's like a king there for the most part. They treat him like he's everything there. They're like, you have dragons, you can stay here, you can drink, you can do whatever you want. And he has none of the responsibilities of what he would have in King's Landing or in Westeros. So he's just chilling. He's like, you know what? I tried that thing and it didn't work for me. I'm living like a king here. Like, this is where I will be a king for the most part. But yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's in the C level for me right now. He's not doing much of anything.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think he should be in a C. And Javier, I totally agree with you. I think this was super beneficial to Rhaenyra. I don't know that this marriage is going to be that beneficial to Damon because like he's not going to be the king. Like it doesn't matter. Like it still doesn't matter for him. Like he's doing a solid for her, it feels like, and is helping her out and is being a trusted ally. And like we know that he's a good fighter. But like at the end of the day, like I don't really know how this benefits Damon. But also at the end of the day, it's like what else is there left for Damon? Like I don't really know where there is to go from here. The only reason I feel like it is a good quote unquote good thing for Damon is just because it seems like he obviously has been there's been something going on between him and Rhaenyra for a long time, right? And it's just like, oh, he got like we saw Lena even say like I'm not the wife that you wanted. I think that was an insinuation that like Rhaenyra was the wife that he wanted. So like this, he settled for her. Like maybe he just finally got what he wanted and gets to be with Rhaenyra. But you're right. Like it did seem like he was hesitant to move forward in any other way with her. It's weird. We'll see what happens with him. What I'm hoping for, though, is that we see Damon beat the shit out of Kristen Cole. I want a rematch of that tournament, and I want Damon to kick his ass. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think we almost got it. Like, in that family meeting, like, I don't know what Kristen Cole was going for or going to do in that moment when he kind of stepped in. But Damon held him off, and I was like, yes, Damon, get him. But we didn't really, like, see that much of it, unfortunately. But, yeah, I agree. I'll put Damon in a C. Do you guys think he should go top of C? I mean, I think he's doing a little more than Rhaenys.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for him.
I will say it's funny that you mentioned a little aside that now we're rooting for Damon to be Christian Cole, because at least for me in the first 2 episodes I was like, yes, Christian Cole beat up Damon. But now that's how far Christian Cole has fallen. That I want Damon to absolutely demolish this man. Like,
yes,
do what you need to do, Damon. I'm 100% support you right now.
Yes, crazy. I think in like episode 1, I was like, yes, Daddy Cole, like, get him. And now I'm just like, Damon, kill this man, just like brutally murder him. Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, I think we could speed through the rest of these. Carl, I think, is like a non-factor. He's not dead, but I guess I'll put Carl. I don't know what you guys think in D maybe, because like at least he
Just
like
'cause
helped
went with-
Lenore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he helped Lenore. So.
Yeah, and helped Rhaenyra and Damon get their end game. So I don't know that there's that much to say about him other than that.
He's not
And
much
it
of a
seems,
character.
and it seems he got his end game, which he gets to be with the man he loves. So
Yeah, and he
good
got
for
paid.
him.
Exactly.
Yeah, he got paid,
He's fat.
and he gets to be with Lenore. So good for him.
Yeah, it's good for you. Harwin unfortunately has passed on. It's really sad because it does feel like he was being a good like de facto dad, even though he was never allowed to actually like be these kids' dad. But he was always looking out for them. He took a very special interest in them, as Kristen Cole kind of called out and was like, it's weird for you to take such like a care of what's going on with these kids, unless you're a brother or like a cousin or like a dad, like they're their son, And then he also punched Kristen Cole in the face, which like we love. I'm gonna put him above Lionel Strong just for that. It sucks. It seemed like he was a good guy. I would love to have known more about how his relationship with Rhaenyra came to be. But I don't know what else there is to say about him. Making bad decisions. These people just make bad decisions. Like, you can't just keep having babies with the soon-to-be queen. Like, you can't do it.
Mess.
Yeah. I think you hit it on the nail. I don't have anything to add about him.
Yeah.
Wish we knew more about him.
Wish we also knew more about him.
R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. He seemed like a good guy. Also, Sea Snake's brother. He's another one I don't really have that much to say about. He was in the episode. He was being very shady towards Rhaenyra's kids at their aunt's funeral, which just seems like inappropriate. Like, this is not about these kids.
The
it's
worst.
about, like, you're kind of a dick.
He is a dick. You saw him at the battle.
Yeah, total dick. Where do you guys want to put him? I mean, I don't know that we're really going to even see a ton from him in the future. I don't know what his storyline is. He was just in the episode this week, so I included him here, but I'm going to put him in D, F? I don't know.
He's an F for me.
He's an F? Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to fight for
I was going to say D, but I'm not going to fight for D.
I'll put him top of F because he's just like negativity bomb everywhere.
Totally a douchebag. All that we have left are the kids. So, like, the one... Oh, no, I'm sorry. We have, what do we say his name is? Harold?
Harold something or other?
Yeah. Harold, okay. I know it was, like, very subtle. I think that this guy's pretty... I don't know that he's going to take a side necessarily, but I do feel like he is pretty honorable, and I feel like he is sworn to Viserys and is getting an inkling of what's going on. Like, he did say at that family meeting, like, oh, I'll take the queen to her room or whatever, which to me, I'm kind of like, oh, he gets something that he sees that something's up with Kristen Cole. I get that from him. So that alone makes me want to put him in C, even though he's like a very minor character at this point. I don't know. He's also been very loyal to Rhaenyra throughout the series so far. I always like these Kingsguards that are like older dudes that just seem like nice guy. Like, they're doing the right thing. And it seems like that's what he is. What do you got? I mean, again, like, he's inconsequential at this point, seemingly, but maybe he'll have something to go on moving forward.
I feel like he's doing his job, but like he's also kind of inconsequential. It does seem like he's picking up on things though, so maybe we'll see more of him as the season progresses. Maybe we'll see him and Christian. If he does anything to Christian Cole, he's going to S rank for me.
Winner.
Oh, same.
But if you want to put him in C, I just find it hard to put him in the same category as Damon and Ring. But
a D.
I think D, but if you two think C, we can do C.
No, I'm a D.
Okay.
I would be okay with putting him at like bottom C, but you're right. Like, let's give him another week. Let's see how he moves this coming week and see. Okay, so now we have the kids. We have Aegon. We have Aemond.
F.
Yeah, F. And what's her name? Helena? I think
that's her name.
Aegon, it kind of makes me like, this dude is like a little shithead. Like, he has no clue. Like, last week we saw Allison just like grabbing his face, being like, you don't understand, like, you like whatever, and like trying to like beat into his head that like Rhaenyra is gonna maybe kill you because you're a threat to her throne, but like you're the rightful heir. And he's just like, okay, I'm just gonna jerk off out this window though, like completely naked, that Tommen later is gonna jump out of very sadly.
True.
So like we saw him this week. I don't know what he was doing. He was like drinking. He was getting drunk. He was like, I don't know. Was he flirting with people? It seemed like they wanted him to marry his sister. And he was just like, yeah, I'm not doing, like, no way. Like, my sister's a fucking weirdo. And I don't want to do that. it just seems like he's a loser teenager. Not like a loser. He's just like a typical teenage kid who is privileged and is the son of the king and is like a little dickhead. I'm fine putting him in F right now. I mean, I don't know.
F.
He could potentially be a king. I don't know. I don't know how the Dance of Dragons ends. I don't know who ends up sitting on the throne. We'll find out as we go, but I'm happy to put him in F. I'm going to put him above Kristen Cole though, just because he hasn't done anything. He called his brother a twat, which he is a twat. So I'm fine. Did he call him a twat or a cunt? I don't remember, but he is.
Correct.
This kid, Aemond, total dick. This kid is the worst.
He tried to kill Jace, right?
He tried to kill Jace. He was going to bash his head in with a rock. He basically stole Vhagar, which, like, I guess Vhagar was unclaimed. So he didn't necessarily do anything wrong necessarily, but like, these are your cousins, right? They're cousins.
Yeah, cousins.
Because of Viserys is Damon's brother. And like, you're just stealing their mom who just passed away's dragon right out from under them, and then you're getting into a fight with it. Like, I'm glad you lost your eye. I wish Jace did more, or Lucerys, or whoever it was. I don't know. This kid just sucks. Like, he was bullied in the beginning, and now like I'm not a bully by nature, but this kid makes me want to bully him. Like, I understand why he was bullied. I also want to bully him, like, even more after this week. Like, I would love to just push him, just give him a little shove. Not the actor, but the character. F.
Okay, I'm gonna make a statement, and y'all might disagree with me, but he made a power move.
I know what you're gonna say. I knew you were gonna say it.
I kind of want to put him in D because I hate the kid too. Like, I don't like him, but he made a big move for him, for his family. And so he was surprisingly well-mannered, losing an eye. Like, he seemed more well-tempered than Allison. So for me, I'd put him at the bottom of D because he did make a big move.
I was going to say, I will only allow this if he's at the bottom of D.
Yes. So that's my thought, just because he did make a big move.
I think it's fair. I mean, he has Vhagar, the largest dragon in the realm, right? He tamed, he got him. And he is right. And Otto agreed, like, it's worth the price of losing an eye. Like, you gained so much more than you lost. And again, just like talk really quickly about Allison one more time. Like, she did not care that he lost an eye. She was not concerned about his well-being. She just wanted to make sure, like, oh, well, my kid lost an eye, then your kid's gonna, like, she just does not care about these kids. I think bottom of D is fine. I feel funny putting Carl above him just because Carl is like a nothing, but like, Carl got his man, and they're going away to Pentos, and he got his money. So you know what? Good for you. Helena, whatever her name is, she's interesting, I guess. She did prophesy. I think, she's going to be, I don't know if they're called dreamers or seers, the Targaryen, like, ability to have the prophecy. Like, yeah. I think, obviously she is that. She's a little strange compared to the other kids. I want to see more of her. She's not like really giving us a ton right now, other than like these little bits and pieces. I didn't follow what she was saying in this week's episode. I don't know if you guys heard her at the funeral and what she was kind of like. I don't know if she was repeating something, but it does seem like she was having like another kind of like moment of saying something. But I don't know if you guys caught what that was.
I forget what she said.
Yeah, I don't recall.
I don't recall either, and we watched the subtitles on, and I just don't remember if even like came up in subtitles. So I'm okay also putting her in D for now. I mean, like, her prophecy came true. You'll have to close an eye to gain a dragon. So
yeah, she seems pretty.
I'm putting her above this little shithead though.
Fine, I'll accept it. I'll accept it. Even though he has done pretty much nothing, but it's fine.
It's true. She really has done nothing. Chanelle, where do you want to put her?
Her above him because I don't like him. So.
I don't like him either.
That's a fair reason. Either. That's fair.
But you're right. In terms of power, like, Aemond, I mean, he has Vhagar. Honestly, we should probably put him in C, but like, I just can't. I can't do it. I physically can't move the mouse there.
You, but we can't.
No, we can't. Here we have Jace and Lucerys. I think Jace is the older one. Lucerys is the younger one. I don't really know. These kids are kind of, I don't mean to be rude, but they're kind of flops. They seem like nice kids, but like, they're not really doing much. But they are. It does seem like these four, I would put these four in the same ranking, right? Like, I feel like they are going to be aligned. Obviously, they're stepbrother and sisters now, step siblings. We'll see what happens with them. They share parents, kind of step parents. I want to see them get closer together and stay aligned. It seemed like they have each other's backs, which I really like. I would put Jace above Lucerys just because he cut out Aemon's eye, and like I support that.
Say. You mean the other way around?
Lucerys cut out
Lucerys. Oh, see, these kids also look the same to me. These two,
similar.
they look exactly the same. Where do we want to put them though? Like, do we want to put them in D? Do we want to put them like they're just kind of there?
Them in D just because I like them better than I like Allison's children.
Yeah. So here-ish, I get no. We'll put them and same with Damon's kids. Like, what do we think?
One of them doesn't have a dragon, so unfortunately, I would probably put her at the bottom. Even though I hope she gets. I think Bayla's the one without a dragon. I hope she gets one.
And is Bayla the younger?
I think she's the younger one.
Okay,
but I'm not sure. We'll have to double check.
I hope she gets a dragon too, and I think it's kind of interesting that she is now part of like the wider Targaryen family, because Syrax, I think, is gonna have babies, like has eggs, right? Because Rhaenyra was like saying, oh, like once my dragon has eggs, we'll give one to Aemon when she was trying to marry them off. So like hopefully she'll get a dragon from that. And she does have an egg that's just not hatching. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so we'll fix this. And this, I think, is our final ranking. What do we think?
Looks good to me.
Okay, I agree with this ranking.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so to recap, for anybody that's listening and not watching, we don't have anybody in S tier. We don't have anybody in A tier. Everybody's kind of like centered in the middle here. B tier at the top, we have Corlys. Then we have Viserys, just because we love him, even though he has like no power at all. Then we have Rhaenyra. Then we have Allison. At C, we have Damon. We have Rhaenys. We have Laenor, again, just because we like him. And he left on a pretty good note for himself. D, we have Harold. Harold? I don't even know this poor man's name. I keep screwing it up. Carl with the Q, and then all the kids, basically. Aside from Aegon, who's an F, which like I almost feel like maybe we should just move Aegon up to D too. Like, I don't really know, but like he's a loser.
I keep him off.
Yeah, I think he can stay in F. We have in F, we have Corlys' brother at the top of F, just because he's kind of a dick. Then we have Aegon, we have Kristen Cole, we have Otto, and then we have Larys rounding out the bottom of F, just because Larys gives us the total creeps. Part of me almost wants to put, we decided to keep Kristen Cole above Otto just because he's more attractive. And I agree. I think that's a perfect way to rank, because like these two guys really suck equally.
Yeah.
I wanted to put Laena in S tier, but unfortunately she is dead, and we do have a dead tier, so we put her at the top of the dead tier. Then we put Harwin, and Harwin Strong, and then Lionel Strong. Rest in peace to those three. All three good characters, in my opinion. And it's unfortunate that we lost them.
Of course, they would kill. Very Game of Thrones to kill the like decent people.
Right, like it felt like Lionel Strong was almost like Ned Stark in a way, like they're just very honorable, and like that just never ends well for those guys, you know. Any other thoughts to round this out? Anything we didn't cover? I know we didn't get like too in the weeds. Typically we do more of like a heavy-handed recap, but I feel like because we had 2 episodes to cover this week, there was just more of just like a check-in with everybody, and you know, deciding where we land. Also, we have MC in the chat saying great job with the content lately. Thank you so much, MC, for tuning in and watching us live. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
No, I think we covered a majority of what went down.
Yeah, there's a lot more nuance that we didn't really get into, but I think it's going to start to come to shape, I think, next week. It feels like Alicent and the Greens they gained a dragon. Otto's back. Alicent seems like she's coming up. Rhaenyra married Damon. Seems like she's coming up in her own way and solidifying things around her. It also seems like Rhaenyra is like, I need allies because we're going to war. Like, she knows that war is coming. She knows. So we'll see how it plays out. Anything you guys are looking forward to on Sunday? Apparently we're in for another time jump.
The time jump.
Like,
I'm getting a little sick and tired of the time jumps, But I think
Same.
I just have to come to terms that this show will have time jumps,
A
and that is
bunch.
just a plot point that this show will
Yep.
do. And these past 2 episodes, the story's getting a little messy for me, but I'm still enjoying the show. Don't get me wrong. Interested to see where a lot of these characters go, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I thought this past week's episode was great. It felt like we had a lot of story element and character building and just kind of like really establishing where these pieces are. And I like that. Like, I feel like this was a really good storytelling episode. It wasn't a ton of action, but it was just like really establishing the story. Like, give us like one more episode like this. Like, we have 3 left. Give us one more. We know the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones was always wild. I assume it's going to be the same thing here. So maybe we'll get one more, I guess, traditionally slow episode. But like, I kind of like that, especially with all these gaps that we've had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I never thought I'd ask for a show to slow down,
Right?
but I agree
know.
with you fully. I hope we get one more episode of more character building, but we're getting a time jump, so will we? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, if nothing else, we can go ahead and start closing out. Javier, where can everybody find you on the internet these days?
So you can all find me on @_the_Starboy on Twitter. I tweet a lot about TV shows in general, Game of Thrones. Big Brother's over, unfortunately, but I'm sure I'll find something else to tweet about. And yeah, you can see me follow all my thoughts and ideas on all the different TV shows that I watch on Twitter.
Awesome. Chanelle, how about you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, TikTok, Twitch at Coder Girl Chan. Mostly chatting about some reality content, mostly gaming content and coding content. But yeah, you can find me mostly on Twitch for the most part.
Awesome. And you guys can follow me on Twitter at RealSimKatie if you would like to follow me there. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/RealSimKatie with an underscore at the end. You can check me out in a couple of places on Sound Podcast. A lot of things are coming to a close. A lot of things are just kicking off. We will continue, obviously, to cover this, hopefully on a weekly basis. I know we had a little weird scheduling stuff this past week, but we're going to keep going strong. You here on Fire and Pod, you can also hear me talk a little bit about Real Housewives on the Cool Water Show at Sound Podcast with my co-host Carrie. We have also been off for the last couple of weeks just because she's been traveling, I've been traveling. It's just been a lot of life stuff happening, but we're picking it back up this week, and we have new seasons starting. We have Salt Lake City, we have Potomac coming this weekend, we have Atlanta closing out.
Yeah,
so we're really
City.
So excited to talk about it all. It's already a mess. It's episode 1. I think episode 2 is probably playing right now as we're recording. So we'll come at you this week with some updated stuff there. Check us out also on the Bounce Checks podcast. We've been doing so much Big Brother stuff lately. It's been a ton of fun. Isaiah, myself, Josiane, and Lance got an opportunity to interview the one and only Taylor Hale. It was an amazing conversation that we had with her. So check that out, both on YouTube and on anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you prefer an audio medium, you can find that there. We also had an opportunity to interview the runner-up Monty from Big Brother 24. Check that out if you would like to. It's a little bit of a different interview, but feel free to check it out. It was also, happy to have the opportunity to ask him a couple of questions. We are going to hopefully get a chance to talk to a few more house guests. We don't really know what's coming there, but we are also planning on just doing a deeper dive on some of the seasons, just producing more off-season Big Brother content for you guys. So check it out there. You can find this all on the Silent Podcast feed. I will go ahead and show our banner for anybody who is watching. I know we have a lot of new folks that those interviews brought in for us. So welcome if this is your first time listening to us on Fire and Pod, or listening to us on Sound Podcasts at all outside of the Big Brother stuff. We cover a ton of things. So I'll give you the rundown. We're doing a ton of Survivor content that's led by Gia, who's amazing. We have Amazing Race content coming up. We have Never Have I Ever content. We are going to have The Mole by Netflix. We are going to be covering, even though we're halfway through the season, we're going to do kind of like a halfway point check-in for Andor, the Star Wars series that's on Disney+. At the Movies podcast is going to be coming back with Isaiah and Mark. We have a ton of stuff. There's Survivor Philly content. It's just, we're cranking it out for you guys. So if you're new here, there's plenty for you to stick around for, even if you're here for Big Brother. If you like reality shows, check it out. Also, I believe Gia is doing a rewatch with her sister for Claim to Fame. If you haven't watched Claim to Fame, you absolutely should. And this is a perfect podcast for you to jump in on. So check it out. Gia's sister is watching for the first time. I believe Gia has watched already, so they're just doing a quick rewatch and chatting about it as siblings, which is an awesome idea. You can find all of that anywhere you listen to your podcasts, at Under Silent Podcast. It's all in the same feed. We are breaking out additional feeds as we move forward, but you'll hear more about that when they're ready. Please feel free to rate us, review us, leave us, a comment if you would like to. We prefer 5 stars. It helps us out in the algorithm. You can also follow us on Twitch if you would like to watch us live. We stream a lot of our content there live. We're there right now at Silent Podcast if you search there. You can also find us on YouTube at Silent Podcast, where we post all of the exit interviews that we've done, and we stream some of our content live there as well. And then you can hear or follow us on Twitter at silent_podcast for anything, any updates that you want to have about, what we're covering. Thank you guys all for the new follows. We've gained a ton of new friends based on some of those Big Brother interviews. So we're happy to have you. Hope you stick around for some of our other content, because we love to talk to you guys. So leave us some feedback. Other than that, if there's any closing thoughts, feel free to share. Otherwise, we will say goodnight for now. And we'll see you again next week on Fire and Pod. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.